Hey, so how about a follow-up to that bit about how to own software? There is another level of software ownership that I don't think, or that I wanted to get into, that I don't think people consider very often, and it's the method of interface. Now, obviously, when people design software, they design it so that it has a certain user experience, and that user experience is intended to be maintained across platforms and whoever the user is. But in reality, or in practical reality, I guess, I don't know, the people who use the software all do not want the same experience, or probably don't all want the same experience. Actually, they literally don't want this same experience. There's no uniformity in operation of the software that everyone's going to say, yes, this is the most optimal way to use it. And this is something that not a lot of people consider, and it's actually a pretty compelling case for custom input devices and automation. So consider the case of video game. Let's say Call of Duty. So when you run Call of Duty on your computer, you run it such that you can experience the game in a certain way. Now, your computer, your CPU, has access to all of the memory information that the game has to offer. Every state of every object, every enemy, every bullet that you, that you technically or symbolically fire, I guess, all of those interactions, your interface with the mouse and with the keyboard or with the gamepad or whatever, all of your inputs are being processed through the computer, and you're changing essentially what's happening within the video game world. You're operating your avatar so that he's pointing and shooting and sliding and jumping and doing whatever. So this is the intended experience. Now, if you take something like that and apply it to something like, let's see, how about Microsoft Excel? So within Microsoft Excel, if you have a set of processes that you want to do, and this is somewhat alleviated by a macro system, but still, the point is you are intended to operate Microsoft Excel in a certain way. And if you fall outside of those operational parameters, which you probably will because everyone overuses and misuses Excel to make it fit into their model or whatever their process is, you're going to run into those limitations very quickly. And you'll find yourself repeating keystrokes and repeating interface options and navigating toolbars and, what is it called, the ribbon or something like that. You're stopping what you're doing in order to point and click at something. You're finding it visually, you're clicking on it, you're selecting the drop down, it's expanding into another menu, and then you choose that item on that menu. And then it probably pops up a dialog window that says, how do you want to perform this action? And you say, 20 times for this on the delimiter of semicolon, and then you click OK. Now, all of that is straight up interface. And that's input that you have to provide to Microsoft Excel in order to get it to do the thing you want it to do. This is the TLDR of this is, if you can't script it, I don't think that you own it completely. So this gets into the other options that you have available to you and the access that you have on your computer. Now, much like the video game, your computer still has access to all of the things that computer, or that the video game has, that the video game world has. So you can access those things technically. The operating system kind of discourages you messing around, mucking around with the memory of another application, but it's totally possible. And that's why things like cheats exist. And when you do things like you play Call of Duty and you run into some cheaters, well, yeah, you don't, you're running that code on your computer, and it is your computer, and you are able to see all of those memory spaces, and you are able to modify them, and even do things like, well, it depends on what the server side, I'm talking mostly about multiplayer, being able to cheat in that game, and to define new cheat systems that would allow you to get the competitive advantage, or literally just straight up win in a multiplayer game. So everyone's playing that and they're trying to have the same user experience, but someone doesn't have to do that, or doesn't want to do that, to the detriment of others. That's actually a pretty compelling argument for consoles, but that's besides the point, because some of the anti-cheat measures that have been proposed, or pretty much actually work, basically give up agency of your computer to the anti-cheat system, because the anti-cheat system has to own your CPU, and it has to own your memory, and it has to be able to leverage or control access to who can modify what's in your memory on your computer that you're processing the game with. And the answer at that point is not you, because you are not in charge of it, because they are in charge of it, whatever the company is. There's lots of technical reasons why that's a bad idea, but having a dedicated computer that does nothing but gaming and being like, yeah, install a anti-cheat rootkit on my computer, I don't care, I don't do anything else on this. It's a, maybe it's fine. But at least when you buy a console, you have some understanding that what you have is not a computer that you can do whatever you want with. So the question becomes, how close can you get your will, your ability to control this piece of software that you ostensibly own? How close can you get your control to interface with the controls of that software that the designer, the software designer set up, put in place for how they want the user to experience the software? And this is my exit. Yes, that's right. Slightly different way going home here. So if you don't have the ability to do some serious scripting within the software, I submit to you that you do not own that software to a sufficient degree. This becomes apparent, obviously. We're talking about video games. You're looking to have a particular experience, and you're looking to have fun, or you're looking to have that catered experience, that railed experience of here's the curated, the produced, the directed experience that I'm going to have with this piece of software, with this video game. You play, and this is a good argument for the set pieces, the rail shooter kind of thing, the linear path design, linear game design. You're there for an experience. You're watching a movie, basically. You're interfacing with a movie slightly, and you're there for the ride. That's just it. You're there for the ride. When you open up Excel and your boss says you need to do this and this and this, and you need to do it 10,000 times, and it takes you 8 clicks and 10 seconds to do it, and you need to do it 10,000 times, you're no longer along for the ride. You're no longer there for the experience. You are now engaging in drudgery. You're engaging in a very negative user experience, because the software is probably not optimized to do the thing, or at least not easily optimized to do the thing. Otherwise, your boss would have just kind of clicked a few times, or had someone else click a few times to do it. And this extends to lots of other tools. Whoa! Goodness gracious. Lucky she didn't get hit. This extends to lots of other interfaces that are made to primarily input data. Because if you're... Come on. You're repeating a process. The developers probably didn't think that this was, if you're on some edge of the use case, then the developers probably didn't plan for you to do the thing that you want to do. Or worst case, or in a much worse scenario, the developers maybe didn't even want you to do the thing that you wanted to be able to do. And I asked myself this question when I was managing Windows systems of my first job. I was like, okay, well, I need to change this, and I need to change it for each user in Active Directory. So that's easy. I'll just, let's see, right-click, click Programs, or click Properties, click on the tab, click the options that opens up the window, uncheck the box, click OK, and then move on to the next one. And I'm like, man, so this is a computer, right? Like, I can control every aspect of this, right? Why can't I do this automatically? Like, what genius thought, what if we want to modify, who would want to modify the properties, the user properties for 10,000 users? And the answer to that is, guess what? Guess, just guess. These eyebrows helping? You're not supposed to. They don't want you to, because they want you to pay them to do it for you. And that's where the rub is. That's where, the rub is, the money is, because that becomes professional services, and management services, enterprise services. And then you get to a point where you're like, my computer is not working for me. My computer is working against me. And the software designers have intentionally implemented limitations in order to make it more difficult for you, such that you pursue an alternative solution in their services. So that's where you can actually still make money on things that are free, or mostly free, or one-time purchases that are now going to need follow-up purchases in order to manage them in any way that makes any sense at all. So that becomes the question of, like, well, can I automate this control? And at the highest level, you're a user with a brain, and your brain is, controlling your hands, and your hands are performing inputs on your software that you ostensibly own. And to be able to take your custom programmable keyboard, or even write a microcontroller off a Pro Micro and make it emulate a keyboard and emulate a mouse, and then repeat those clicks or repeat those keyboard presses over and over, building that kind of macro, or even doing it at an operating system level, like AutoHotkey does that really, really well. It's just a little cumbersome to work with, but once you get it locked in, you can run it over and over and over again. That becomes, that's the next level of ownership, is, are you able to control this software and control the memory in an accessible way, ideally, but alternatively, you can hack at it. You can change stuff. You can write new bits of code. We have a cutter that we're using that is kind of low tech, and it requires a user interface where we push a button and hold it, and then the thing slowly moves. And if you hold it for a certain amount of time, it speeds up. Well, right after it hits that speed up point is right where we want it to be. So you kind of wind up this thing where you're like, you undershoot it or you overshoot it, and then you have to press it the other way, and then the head has to warm up again, and it goes, and it speeds up again. So it's like, this is the user interface that has been designed for this software, and it is not fitting what we're doing. So my first thought is, like, open up the panel and solder in a separate microcontroller, and control that with timed button presses, so that we can, build a macro into this into this control panel that we're pushing buttons on, which is kind of hilarious, but it does the work, and that's what we want to do. We want to get to the point where we really own our hardware, where we really own our software, because when you do that, you become this force multiplier. You become this person who can do those reports, those 10,000 repeated activities in Excel in 30 minutes. You become that clutch player. You become that person, especially in the case of someone like myself, or a freelancer. You can do way more work than you should be able to do, than you can do without it. Your computer should be helping you. Your keyboard should be helping you. Your mouse should be helping you. All of these things are input devices that the software must interface with. So hack at those. Get the advantage of those. There's another element of this where you generate code, and then I did an upgrade on one of my KiCad projects, and all of the what was it called? The component lists were screwed up because they changed the way the structure of the component lists are presented. And I had to repeat this process over and over and over, and click here and change that, and then choose the new one, and then pop up a window, and then wait for it to populate, and then choose the correct item, and scroll down, choose the correct item, apply, yes, okay, and then move on to the next one. And I was like, there's got to be an easier way, and I just popped it open in Vim, and I was like, oh, well, it's just a text file. Well, here's the line that denotes this particular component, and here's what it is now, and here's what it should be. So, hey presto, it changed 140 elements on the file, and I fire it up, and there it is. It works just fine. You know, that's another level of input control, of modifying files, or of really owning the output that you have, or owning your project files even. So that's another level there that you can strive to accomplish in order to accomplish more work and be more in control of your time, because that's where this all comes back to: software ownership, computer ownership, ones and zeros, even your machines. They're all designed to save you time, to add man hours to your abilities, to add man hours to your efforts, and the having full control over those things gives you time back, which is the powerful thing. This is kind of gotten off topic, but it does talk about the benefits of truly owning your software, truly owning your hardware, and being able to get more work done and save yourself more time and save yourself a lot of headache. That's all I got.